Laserlight Special Edition Classics. Hello, I'm Tony Curtis. Welcome to our Special Edition Classic presentation of two of Charlie Chaplin's films. In the first one, Charlie persuades a rich girl to elope with him. And by the way, bring along your father's money. In the second film, Charlie takes up donations for a charity, then skips town. In the countryside, he rescues a girl, then nobly helps to find her happiness with her true love. You've got to take note here that Chaplin's characters are not always noble. In many of his films, roles, he was something of a rascal, okay? But he was never evil. I mean, he was simply a tramp, down on his luck, eternally craving for something better in life. Still, despite the tramp's poverty, he looked for and found and enjoyed the simpler pleasures of life. Now, this may seem a rather mild message, right? But after all, audiences wanted entertainment, not preaching. Even so, his message was clear, that even in tough times, you should try to find something to laugh about. Remember, in those days, life was pretty much of a grind for ordinary people. Work hours were long, wages were meager, the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. Sounds like today, doesn't it? And along comes this guy named Charlie Chaplin, who made people laugh. For that, we owe him. Incidentally, Charlie was not only an actor, he also wrote the stories and most of his films, and he directed and he produced. He also composed much of the music. And on that note, no pun intended, let's roll the films and see what Charlie is up to this time. After the show, I'll be back, and we'll arrivederci, whatever that means. Hi, I'm Tony Curtis, and this is a movie camera. Welcome to our Special Edition Classics presentation of two of Charlie Chaplin's films. Chaplin was the undisputed king of the silent era. He was known for creating that foolish yet engaging little guy who became known around the world as the Little Tramp. You know what he did? He wore a coat that was too small for him, and his pants were too big, and his hat was a tiny little hat, and he walked around like a caveman. And the audiences loved him. Like most great inventions, the Little Tramp evolved over a period of time. For years, Chaplin had observed and imitated the characters on the streets of London and the stages of the music halls. Later in Hollywood, Chaplin put together his wardrobe for this little guy in only his second film. Overnight, at the ripe old age of 25, Charlie Chaplin skyrocketed to fame and fortune. For 10 years, he had developed the skills in vaudeville. He learned all the skits and the pratfalls. Later in his movies, he combined his frenetic energy with the speed of the camera frames to create a character like no one had ever seen before. Oh, to be sure, there were other guys. I mean, you know, the Keystone Cops were wild and woolly, but Chaplin brought another element into play. You know, his craziness had a humanity that transcended his characters, I think, you know. He was human, and he reached out and embraced his audience. And because of that, for nearly 20 years, Charlie Chaplin really was the king of the silent films. There are two films on our program tonight. In the first one, the Little Tramp makes friends with a dog and a dance hall girl. The dog digs up a wallet, and the crooks try to claim the wallet, and the chase begins. In the second film, the Little Tramp gets involved with an orphan baby and a desperate woman. Again, the crooks go after them. So, as they say in the movies, let's roll them. Now, after the show, I'll be back for a wrap-up. Enjoy yourself. Hello, I'm Tony Curtis. Welcome to our Special Editions Classic presentation of three Charlie Chaplin films, all made in 1916 and 1917. By this time in his career, he was the highest paid movie star in the world, getting $330,000 for each 25-minute film. Nobody today makes that kind of money in today's dollars. Chaplin was born in 1889, and he made his first appearance on stage when he was 5. At the age of 8, he toured the provinces in a musical. When he was 11, he played London's famous Hippodrome Theatre. In 1906, at the age of 17, he joined a vaudeville troupe. And in 1910, he began to tour America. By 1913, Max Sennett brought Chaplin to Hollywood. At first, his bosses were frustrated that he didn't do the typical Keystone Cops pranks, you know? Chaplin told him, look, if you want somebody to pull those old gags, well, then do it, but why did you hire me? Chaplin's real genius was that he insisted on making his comedy a burlesque on something in real life. Because his comedy was physical, it appealed to all ages. And because it was the silent era, it was understood by everybody, all nationalities. You know, it's fair to say that for almost 20 years, Chaplin was the most recognizable person in the world. Well, it's time to stop being so serious about Chaplin's comedies, and let's watch him in action. In the first film, he creates havoc in a restaurant, and then a roller skates in his way into a disaster. In the second film, he wrecks a soundstage. Then he blows it up to smithereens. In the third film, Chaplin first wins a big poker hand, but winds up accused of thievery. Sounds like fun, huh? Now, let's roll 'em. After the show, I'll be back to wrap up things, okay? See you later.